zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me.
Well, welcome back to Krown's Kiddo Cave, and a very exciting Friday that I think that we have in store for all of us in the cryptocurrency space, especially because, well, we got the monthly closing today. Not only that, but CME is closing as well, and, well, all higher time frames are primed for major, massive signals being given relatively soon. So with all of that said, I do want to kind of preface this whole conversation by saying this is going to be perhaps maybe a longer video. I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's a little bit of reverse psychology. But before we get into it, I want to remind myself to say that Twitch stream yesterday night was phenomenally fun. We caught a few moves during it, both the move to the upside and the move to the downside before that, during that washout, of which that particular price action was very, very interesting. Well, I suppose we'll get into a little bit later as we were kind of trying to live trade it, although for myself, wasn't able to get in due to the good old system overload on BitMEX. But I should say that for today, I don't know if I'll be on Twitch later tonight, as I do have an appointment a little bit later today, and I wasn't able to get an earlier slot, so I don't know if I'll have time to kind of get on at a reasonable hour. But assuming that I do, I certainly will, but it's gonna be very, very close, and I'm not so sure I can make a promise on that one. On top of that, I want to say that the Krown trading application is live and has been live for the last couple weeks. We are pushing more updates to it with each and every passing week, and it's starting to be built up with a culmination date probably at the end of this next coming month of February. With that said, it's 100% free. So head on over to app.crowntrading.net and please take advantage of it, as that is what it's for. A nice little community tool. Other than that, I think it's time for me to wish you the best of the best and the haps of the haps, because we got a shit ton to talk about today. So without further ado, baby, let's press that button and I'll see you in the live scene. Haha. And there she goes. Once again, Bitcoin on the daily, and holy fucking moly, so much to talk about right here. Okay, so first and foremost, let's actually talk about the lower time frames right now. Started off with the lower time frames because we did hit all the targets that we spoke about since we last spoke 24 hours ago. And so what essentially was that? Well, we did hit what I essentially look at as a 9600-ish level right here. Got a nice tick to about 95.79. During the overnight session for myself, for the people in the Western Hemisphere, that was probably around the daily total close, and that was essentially target met to the upside. And of course, after that, I do believe that a low time frame was going to be put in, low time frame top was going to be put in. I believe that that's what we're seeing right now. And the real question is that I'm sure a lot of people are going on to is this going to be a medium time frame top where we come back down maybe around 9,000 or 8,950-ish region? And I do have a lot of thoughts with regards to this, because the lower time frames do suggest that yes, we do have a top in, but that's only for the lower time frames. For the high and the macro time frames, we'll look on a little bit later in this video, because I want to start off with the lower time frames here. That picture actually looks quite different. So I want to preface the conversation by saying that. But for right now, we do have bearish divergence playing out on just about all time frames. I believe even up to a 12-hour. Yes, 12 hours going to be showing a little bit of bearish divergence here as well. Although this is not necessarily confirmed as a local top. I think the highest time frame that we have confirmed as a local top is maybe a 10-hour. Yes, indeed it is. And that same bearish divergence is present. So I do believe that this can actually turn into a medium time frame top, meaning that we will head back down to about $9,000 base, maybe a little bit lower than that at like 8,950, wherever the daily 200 simple is, which let's go check on it right now. About 8,900 actually. Yes. So somewhere between about 9,000 and 8,900. But if and only if we take out that same area that Bitcoin kind of dipped into for the liquidity, the liquidiest fucking Darth Maul dildo of death on this wick right around here, which I want to spend a little bit of time speaking about. But for right now, I want to put back on the drawing tools and kind of talk about this this action that we saw yesterday, because this was actually live during the Twitch stream, and I was really really intent on buying this area. I wasn't able to do it because BitMEX had a little bit of a system overload right there, and well, they're a nice trading feature, which is very, very frustrating. But here's the thing: so I've been planning to buy this area for quite some time. And people who were in that stream or just even watching these videos for the last few days have known about this area, and I've just been going level by level, and that would have been phenomenally nice for pretty much an instant like $400 gainer right there. And the question came up because this happened live on stream. A question came up, Krown, what are you going to do now that you didn't get your your fill there? And the answer is nothing. I do nothing. The reason why is because what I found in the past is that whenever I kind of deviate from my own plan, my own trading plan, the statistics working out in my favor that technical analysis is useful for get diminished, and more often than not, it'll actually end up biting me in the asshole. And in this case, would I've been on the right side of the trade even if I entered in even $100 higher than what I was looking for, because I was looking for right around 9150 to 9100ish region, as you see by the blue box. Yes, I would have, but I know that over time that's not the right thing to be doing. Even though this was kind of a more obvious one. I mean, when you get a massive wick up like this, you're very likely to get continuation on top of that. But the thing is that what did we do? What did I do essentially right after that? I went back to playing the game, which was, in my opinion, the best thing to do, because I don't want to get into those bad habits, because I know where it's led to in my past. So I wanted to briefly kind of highlight that, because a lot of people were, were very inquisitive about that. And realistically, that's just what I've learned in my experience. Also coming from my mentors as well. But a big lesson right there, because at the end of the day, there's always a next trade. And while this was quite hurtful, while I really did want that trade, I know that the best thing to do is just to wait for the next big one, and also, if there is going to be anything to kind of look back on over here, what is the real solution? Well, there's no point in reminiscing over just past failures if you're not looking for a solution on top of that. And realistically, the mistake that I made here, and what I should have known better to do, was to leave a resting order, because anytime that if I was going to get this trade at all, and it was coming from this area right here, it was going to be one of those quick wicks. So I should have left a resting order, and is what I should have done. But that was completely my own failure, and again, always learning. So mark that one off, and move on to the next opportunity, of which I believe that we're going to be presented with probably this next pretty fucking soon, man. So no rush on that. And more importantly, with this, what we can do now, because of this massive wick to the downside that we saw right here, what I can say, going back on to our earlier conversation of, does this turn into a medium-term time frame top, we can look at this as another pivot. And what we can do is just simply move up that blue box territory up to the 9250-ish region right here. And as long as Bitcoin's closing at the very least 2-hour dildos above there, I think 4 hour would be a little bit better. Preferably a higher time frame, of course. It's gonna add more confidence onto it. But I do believe that a 2 hour probably guts this one right. If we do close it below here, then yes, very likely Bitcoin confirms a medium time frame top, and we'll come back down all the way to 8900-ish region, and very likely 8900-ish region tests the 200 simple on the daily. Personally speaking, I think that I think anywhere between 9 and 8900 would be kind of a nice potential bottoming zone for the medium time frame as well, where the daily could put in a higher low and continue trend coming into the next week. So let's actually extrapolate that just a little bit more. But before that, I want to cover up the lower time frames a little bit more here. Oh fuck, my historical volatility percentile is not on right now, motherfucker. Hold on, let me, there we go. It's right there. Beautiful. And for all the people asking about my what's it called? My settings on this is 10-100 is what I'm looking for. Anyways, cooling off once again. As you can see, this is a 4 hour. However, I'd expect that the hourly is probably contracting as well. Yes, indeed it is. And so that tells us that we're probably actually looking for a move once again. I'd say before end of day, with CME futures contracts expiring today. That is a nice impetus for a move as well. So let me actually collapse this a little bit. It's a little bit too big. I don't want to be a massive indicator whore right here. But at the end of the day, yes, this is suggesting that we are going to be looking at a pretty nice move. And what we saw yesterday was just a short-term move, essentially. And that does actually add up to the probabilities that I think that we're going to see the higher timeframes take over once again here. However, before then, I should say that let's go back on, and I want to see how high of a time frame. We do have bearish divergence up to a 10 hour right here. Yes, has that already played out, or is it reasonable to say that we've already played that out? I think so. Yes. However, I would ultimately be looking for another test back down to 9250. I think that this range likely holds for a little bit longer, and the blue boxes of peace and prosperity right here are just going to be the very easy way to kind of simplify everything on top of what we're about to look at on the higher time frames in a second here. So keep this in mind. I actually think that this is going to be one of the few times we're using the lower time frames is just going to be more relatable and more actionable. And what I'm saying right here, we kind of already discussed to the downside if this area breaks. But it's also the yellow 21 exponential moving average on the 4 hour at 92.40. Yes, I would look for a move back down to about 8,900 and probably bounce off this blue box right here. However, by the same token, to the upside, any sort of a 4 hour delta close above 9,600, and we will very likely get a move probably into the 5 digits on Bitcoin. I really don't see too much resistance overhead for Bitcoin right here. That isn't already kind of overlaid in the charts. I mean, we do have this 9850-ish region right here, but I don't think that would be anything more than just a short-term stop. The reason why I say that is because we're going to start to see the higher time frames take over after that, as here's what's going on that could be confirmed as soon as today's closure at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to see, or we're very, very likely to see, a golden cross on the daily dollar time frame right here. Not only that, we're going to see the 10 simple get above the 200 simple right here. Not of like particular interest. The 50 and the 200, the purple and the green, of much greater interest right here. And as Bitcoin consolidates above major movement averages, grinding out a major macro area being the weekly resistance, that 9,500-ish region that we've been speaking about for the last like couple months, that is typically bullish. And as major movement averages are kind of switching into a more bullish posturing, that's what you actually really want to see for these areas to get broken, these macro areas. And at that point, I 9850 probably does provide a low time frame pullback, but realistically, there's not too much stop in Bitcoin from like 10.3, maybe 10.5. Things get a lot more interesting right there. Not only that, but remember this, let me go back on over here. Remember this long-term descending channel that we had, that we've been living under, whether you're looking at this with bodies or wicks, if you're looking at it with wicks, fucking goddamn, I can't speak at all. But if you're looking at it with wicks, and if you can understand my fucked up version of English, then we actually do have a measure move to be made off of this, and it'd be pointed to something actually much higher at around 11.5 to be fair. That'd be the more aggressive one, of course. But if you're using bodies, and both are kind of relevant in this region. If you're using bodies, however, it would suggest a little bit more of a conservative estimate in this regard. And I think this is probably the right thing to be doing, and that would actually give you that $10,000 marker right there. So I do think that if we do break, if you see Bitcoin close, especially a 4-hour dildo above 9,600, that topside resistance that we just got rejected from on the lower time frames, I do believe that you will see extension to probably 5-digit Bitcoin. Nice psychological number here. Who knows where the liquidations bring it to? I think an obvious area would be perhaps around like 10.3 to 10.5 would be a little bit more of an obvious area. And then macro, just keep in mind that this one here as well, I don't know how much more I trust it though, is the real thing. And if we use bodies consistently around here, let's actually see how this one matches up. This would be a little bit more on the bullish side as well. Let's see if this one's consistent here. Actually, indeed it is. So if you are using, oh man, this is very interesting to me. Even, the more conservative estimate actually gets us all the way up to 10,000. The more aggressive estimate gets us up to 11,500 to 12,000. So I'm going to mark these off macro, and I'll put this on my BitMexican chart as well, because I like to keep this one updated long term. So I'll mark this area off right there and make a zone between 11.5 and 12, and that'll be like the next macro area. After 95.50-ish region on a weekly dollar close. So big things here coming up, probably in the next couple of weeks, I'd imagine. So very interesting. But here's the thing, as I said, the daily golden cross is very likely coming today, unless if Bitcoin has a phenomenal crash back down, essentially below probably the 200 simple at that 8,900-ish level. So you never know what you're gonna get with the cone. But for right now, it looks like it's still kind of stair stepping up to me. And looking at the daily momentum oscillators, we still got room here. Daily Stokes are still getting up there. Now they are going to be getting a little bit top heavy, of course. And we do see that daily RSI is actually potentially having a little bit of bearish divergence being put in here as well, but no local high has been confirmed just yet. So it's not confirmed. And I wouldn't really consider it confirmed as long as Bitcoin is, again, above that 9250-ish region on, at the very least, like a medium time, 4-hour closing basis. I'd prefer like a 12-hour would be a little more confidence inducing, because it is such a major area here. But that is the major pivot to be aware of right now, as it's gonna have massive implications with all these momentum oscillators, which are gonna trigger all sorts of bot buying and bot selling depending upon which area that we break first. It's gonna, to the upside, it completely switches around just about everything for the long-term moving average design bots, which is probably most of them, at least in my experience. Most of them are going off of some sort of EMA strategy. And to the downside, well, we're technically kind of still there, but we're at a pivotal moment here where things can actually change. Of course, keep in mind that CME is going to be closing not just for the monthly today, but also the weekly, and that means that we get to see CMEs basically kind of like set in stone, likely before spot price action closes, which means that we get an insight into what spot is going to be around Sunday. So So looking at this right here, CMEs, in order to close on a higher high, would need to close above 96.75, and they still have about, funnily enough, they still have about $100 price premium. So what's interesting about this is that spot is trading again like $150 below below CME futures, which means that at expiration there's going to be massive arbitrage opportunities. So what are people going to be doing? They're going to be buying up spot, selling down the futures, and meet somewhere in the middle. So I would imagine that that's going to align with spot prices being bought up, most likely, unless if just futures get absolutely fucking crushed, or people have kind of already rolled their positions, which is hard to find out information on because we don't really have that. It's not as fleshed out as you'd love it to be in a traditional market. We have all this wild west bullshit going on, but yes, if CMEs close above 96, sorry, let's call it like 9,700 just to be conservative here. And it's currently at about 95.25, so it's really not that far away. But if it closes above 9,700 by end of day, we will officially have new higher highs on a weekly closing basis. And on top of that, if it were to even just trade above the prior high on a wick basis at 10,050, very, very likely we're going to get continuation based off of that as well. And as you can see right on over here on CMEs, just such an easier chart to read. What does this look like long term if Bitcoin gets back above 9,700-ish region? And I'm gonna fucking say it, man. And I don't say this too often because usually it's wrong. And actually, the volume signature on this one leaves a lot to be desired, to be fair. But it actually does start to look a little bit like an inverted head and shoulders, like a long-term bottoming formation. As far as the macro goes, which, well, at that point, and I'm just playing around right now. I'm not saying that I'm gonna live and die by this one, but it would suggest that same sort of targeted region is about $12,000 as far as that goes. So just keep that in mind going forwards here. I also want to check out the monthly, which is going to be closing today for all subsidiaries, CMEs included. Any sort of a close above this breakdown point right here at about 9,300 looks really fucking good long term. Maybe not long term, but long term. I think though we'd certainly be getting back up into the 5 digits in February, and then reassess from there. And for spot price action, that would be essentially anywhere above on today's closure above about 9,200. Of which we are about almost $200 above there right now. But hey, $200 is nothing as far as Bitcoin's concerned. It can sneeze and move that much on a nice shakeout move. So looking at this right here, we do see that monthly momentum oscillators are very, 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 very likely to do something very, very critical here. We're going to see monthly RSI get back above the exponential. I really, really like this. That's after rejection the neutral zone right here. That is strength. That is saying that we are resilient within this region, and closing above all major movement averages, and also closing back above the last sort of breakdown point after bouncing off the yellow 21 exponential moving average would suggest that that we're ready to try a legitimate move to the upside here, which is quite exciting because we're going to be really looking at an area somewhere around here. So that 11,000, 12,000 area starts to look a lot more interesting coming into like maybe later February, maybe even March, something like that. Anyways, let me just check are we doing anything over here? All right, we'll just figure that one out. We'll take care of that one later. Anyways, okay, cool. So what else do we want to talk about? Again, I just want to follow up on this. Obviously, nothing really super new here, to be fair. But as far as the weekly goes, we're seeing weekly RSI crawl back above the exponential and be resilient in this region, and it's going to have a chance. More importantly, and remember that CME's closing today likely tells us where spot is going to close on Sunday. If CMEs close anywhere here or higher, or even just anywhere above like 9,200, let's call it, we will see very, very likely spot follow through and close above this blue box on the weekly RSI, which has been, since the genesis of Bitcoin's history, has been a phenomenal way to get these long-term moves. Anytime the RSI is above the 55 to 56 marker right here, this blue box, that's your bull market, and it loves to base off of that area, giving you phenomenally timed buys before absolutely massive rallies. And by the same token, to the downside, it loves to give you major sells within this region as well before headed back down. And you can back this one yourself. I always suggest that you should verify this yourselves because who knows, perhaps I'm wrong, and perhaps you have a better eye for this sort of thing. But what I can show you is that it's pretty much true more or less throughout the history of Bitcoin, and we're gonna have a chance to very, very likely see that happen later tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So or when CME is closed, which I believe is 5 p.m. Eastern time today. So yes, anywhere above here, I would say that that's a change in macro behavior, and again, verify that one for yourself. But pretty much gotten all the macro moves pretty much perfectly. And on top of that, we're going to have likely a chance to revert the weekly trend officially by making a higher high right in over here, again, above 95.50-ish region on a weekly closing basis, which spot closing today should also give us, you know, insight into, depending upon where it eventually settles. As it stands right now, we do still see that weekly Stokes are headed upwards and onwards. They're going to be getting back above they're going to have a chance to get back above the bearish control zone by end of week. I'm keeping an eye on that, as that's quite a significant area for myself. And a change of behavior. Once again, you can see that consistently. You know, weekly Stokes do like to play in the bearish control zone when Bitcoin is heavily downtrending. And the second that it breaks to the upside, well, let's look at the last time. That was March of 2019, giving you this move right here. It's from 4,000 to 14,000. Before that, you had, well, we'd have to go all the way back on over here, but same sort of thing in 2014, 2015. And more importantly, major moving averages are looking quite healthy here. As we've been speaking about for the last, what's it called, basically for the last eternity, essentially. The big things to be aware of are the 21 exponential moving average and the 10 simple, and the slopes of these two guys. And the big thing about this is that the 21 loves to be a base for these bull markets and loves to be a stomping ground for the bear markets, you know, selling off of it. And then on top of that, you know, you do see a few one-offs of closures to the upside here. However, you'll notice that the slope of the 21 and the 10 simple on those ones were both negative. So right now we do have what I believe is very, very likely a change of behavior. We've got both an open and close above it, and now we have positive slopes on both the 10 simple and the yellow 21 exponential moving average, which tells me that we probably are going to see this try higher. I do think that Bitcoin's going to be aiming its cannons towards the 5 digits, probably 10,000 to 10.3 in the coming weeks. And again, you know, essentially as long as Bitcoin's above the 200 simple on the daily, I'm more or less bullish, and Bitcoin come back down to the 200 simple on the daily, which is currently at 8,900, and I'd actually be looking for a higher low there, funnily enough. You'll actually notice that that's in line with the trend line coming in from our last couple lows on the daily. It's going to be meeting up right around here, which the white 200 simple is going to be curling around and meeting this area relatively soon. So I do like all these things kind of combined, and I do think that Bitcoin more or less, you know, the question is, is Bitcoin going to play out a more deep downwards consolidation here, or are we going to reaccumulate sideways throughout the weekend, you know, playing in a range between 82.50 and 86, or sorry, like let's call it like 86 to the top side here, although realistically the range as far as the lower time frame is going to be more like 94.50 to 92.50ish right here, so $200 range. Is, you know, and maybe it reaccumulates as long as it doesn't break 92.50. So that's more or less healthy and very, very likely to get that next try to the upside. So this pullback right here, while it does look quite while this rejection right here does look quite nasty thus far, I wouldn't get too excited about it from a bearish perspective. I mean, even from like a short-term bearish perspective, or sorry, a medium-term bearish perspective, as long as we're above 92.50. If 92.50 does break, I'd be looking for a move down here to about 8,900. I'd probably be looking for a higher low to be put in there. If not, then we likely have one massive fucking fake out to deal with, and it's going to be the bull trap from hell, and Bitcoin's going to be coming back down to the low 7,000s, and there's going to be crying moon boys everywhere. But for now, boolah, 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 baby, because I like what I see here. You know, whether Bitcoin comes back down to 92.50 and it bounces from there, or whether it comes down to 8,900, I think the results are likely going to be the same in the coming weeks. And I do think that Bitcoin is going to test 92.50 again. The question is, does it hold or not? And I would say at first pass, it probably does hold on the next one. However, momentum oscillators on all the lower time frames they have plenty of downside here. 4 hour, 3 hour, 2 hour, and hourly, all coming down at the same time. But the question is, can the bears actually break these critical areas first before those start to revert themselves? So the more sideways that Bitcoin goes here, and this is like the key critical point right now coming into this weekend, the more sideways, the better for Bitcoin laws here. As long as it does not break 92.50, it looks more or less good. Okay, cool. What else do we want to talk about? We've already been speaking for, holy shit, 25 minutes. What the fuck? Let's go match this up with the expected moves chart right now and see how this kind of agrees or does not agree with with the expected moves with regards to historical volatility percentile. And actually, the 12-hour I think is getting things a little bit better than the daily. To be fair, we see the first deviation is showing 92.50 to the downside, so less than a 16% chance to break below that critical support that we just spoke about in the next 12 hours of trading. And to the upside, 95.50ish region, less than 16% chance for us to break to the upside. So what's most likely to happen here is we fill out the range more. Let's go over to a daily though, as daily still very much relevant. And what do we see here? 91.50 to the downside, and to the upside 96.50. So does that represent the greater range better? This is one of the times where I'd say the 12-hour I think is going to get it right. It's more in line with what just very basic generic forms of technical analysis is telling me, and I do believe that going level by level that way is going to be the right thing to do in this particular area here. And you have to remember that a 24-hour is looking at 24 hours from now, whereas a 12-hour is looking 12 hours from now, and a 12 hours from now is more around the CME's closure and the daily closure for Bitcoin. So I think that that's going to be actually more accurate with regards to what we're going to be looking at on the actual closure, where things matter the most. And to me, I think that it just gets the ranges here better as well. So I'd still be sticking with this 92.50 to the downside, 95.50 to the upside, 9600 region more accurately, really. And realistically, it's less than a 16% chance for either side to get taken out today, which is more better, it's more gooder, is more whatever the fuck is better for the bull laws here, as sideways is going to allow the momentum oscillators to cool off while everyone starts to short because divergence. But little do they know, man. Little do they know. It's not little do they know. It sounds like I'm being a complete dickhead here. But at the end of the day, until you confirm these local highs, you ain't got no fucking divergence. Everyone wants to call a fucking divergence every goddamn continuation play up. But understand that you will be on the wrong side of every divergence play if you do not wait for local highs or local lows to be formed. And if you're in the TA program, there is a very, 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 very long bonus video that was posted a few months ago in the end of the program. So if you haven't, I know like a lot of people who might have joined earlier, they probably haven't seen that because I might not do the best job with announcing when new content has been added to it. But definitely go check that out because it's going to go into much more detail on that. Much more than I can go into on a video like this. Anyways, okay, cool. So what else do we want to look at? Let's go check out traditional markets. Traditional markets, holy shit. Did we hit our 320-ish area to the downside? No, we didn't. Or sorry, no. I was saying 323 and a half to 324. Yes, we did hit that area. And then holy shit, mother of bounce right there. While I did feel quite confident about this move to the downside, I would have not have called this move to the upside right here, to be fair. But interesting. I don't know what to make of this just yet. The weekly actually looks okay. Wow. Fucking powerful, man. Fucking powerful. I don't know what to make of this. If anything, the weekly looks okay. We hit our target to the downside. What next? I mean, it's still kind of downtrending here, but things look like they want to go back up to, it looks like it wants to come back up to 329 and a half, 330-ish region, to be fair. I don't know if I'd be bearish on this anymore here. This is a phenomenal reaction thus far. I would only be bearish if it comes back down below about 324 region. Then I could be bearish on it again, looking for a target of like maybe 320 even and another bounce there. But for right now, that was a very good reaction. That was a very, very good reaction. So, downside target was met, but the bounce after that was quite impressive. So I don't think I'd be so bearish on it. Let's go check out some Forex pairs, and we got pound yen over here, or sorry, dollar yen. Hit our downside target at 108.5. Nice bouncy bounce on top of that, and I do think that is going to probably bounce up a little bit more. Maybe grind out this 108.8 region again, but that would only be very, very short term. I do think that is probably going to try another move back up to like 109.5 region. Right now, it's still kind of holding this nice rising handle, which typically is bearish, but same thing kind of going on here. All the momentum oscillators are more or less neutral as price action is, well, it's bouncing off a nice support. So I do kind of like that. Signature. So I would say a little bit more upside here. Again, downside target met. Probably gonna play out this bounce here to 109.5. I would say. Pound yen. Bounced off the lower side of this support right here, but what do I make of this? Man, this is just a massive clusterfuck right here. Jesus Christ, I'm so glad. I haven't been trading this one for a little bit of time, and I'm very happy to not be trading this right now. Fake out from hell, come all the way down to support, bounce off very nicely from support. What do you make of that? Same thing here, kind of going on in as we see in dollar yen. I think it's probably going to test back up to like 143.8 or maybe even this horizontal right here. But what we can do is just kind of make it this sort of a range right now. I do think that the weekly is kind of in trouble, but we will see the weekly close today. If it closes above 143 spot like 2 or basically wherever the 200 simple is, I'd probably be looking for this to test higher in the coming weeks. But very difficult call here. I would be, it's kind of like right in the middle of this range, and I'd be more or less neutral if anything. Gold, what are we looking at on gold? Gold still stair-stepping its way up. I still think that this one's more or less fine. I know a lot of people are very bearish on this. I'm not of the same opinion. If we do get a close above about 1582.5 today, I would look for extension into 1610 to 1630 coming into like next week or the week after that, sometime in February. For right now, there is a little bit of bearish divergence present, but I would not look for it to play out as long as it's above 1565. If 1565 does get loosened to the downside, I'd probably look for the bottom side of the support to get met somewhere. Anyways, what else do we have? Euro dollar hit our downside target, bouncing off there. I do think that it's probably going to bounce back up to like 110.5. Probably meet this trend line right here again. And let me actually get rid of this one because it's no longer relevant. At least it's not really relevant to what I'm looking at right now. But yeah, somewhere right around here is what I'd be looking for perhaps. So yep, again, very, very nice. What else do we want to look at? I suppose we could look at, let's look at Mrs. Litecoin actually. Oh man, I can't believe I didn't start with this. Fuck. This is like the most important thing. This is like literally one of the most important things, kind of rounding out the more bullish bias in my analysis right now. And I should have started with this admittedly, and I completely fucking whiffed on this one. Here's the thing with Litecoin. Litecoin has new weekly highs. Litecoin did take out the last weekly high right here at 66.75, and to me, this is strength. This is powerful. There's probably gonna be pullbacks. There's probably it's probably gonna ebb and flow. Probably comes back down to like 66.25. But overall, I'll be looking for it during the month of February to pop back up to like $80, and after that. Well, we'll get to that after that happens, but looking good here. Momentum also is turning up, plenty of room to go. Looking very healthy on RSI and Stokes, and critical levels being taken out, and the 200 simple looking very, very likely to be closed above. Although it is a long time between now and the end of the weekend at Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, but this is pretty big because we have seen Litecoin lead to the upside in the past a few times, and well. If it's doing something like this, does that mean that Bitcoin's next to put in a higher high on the weekly? Does that mean that we're going to see 5 digits, in the coming week or two? I think it does. I think it does edge up the probabilities of that happening. Anyways, Mr. Buterol, a little bit less strong, certainly not as strong as Litecoin. Still needs to get back above about, I really feel more comfortable with like 225, getting taken out to the upside before calling like another weekly high, but got the close above the 200 simple. We did hit our 185 target from yesterday, and this looks more or less healthy to me. I'm bullish on this one as long as it's above 176 region. It can come back down to there on a pullback, 176 to 179 region. I think that's completely fine, but longer term, I'd be looking for the 377 to get hit somewhere around actually almost $200 even, and then a nice little pullback from there. So as far as that goes, more or less stock standard, probably going to follow whatever Bitcoin does, and Litecoin maybe not be leading. I think it might be leading. I think it might be leading here. Litecoin has made the first move to the upside in macro move events in the past plenty of times. So yeah, I think that this is quite interesting price action right here. Overall, I mean, as long as Bitcoin goes sideways in this region, this would be a bullish reaccumulation. We've seen this formation before, and I'd be overall neutral leaning bullish as long as Bitcoin's above 92.50 for continuation sooner rather than later. Probably coming into next week, so I don't think that we're going to get like a move this weekend. You're probably going to see Liquidius shove his girthy Darth Maul dildo both ways into both of these blue box territories over the weekend. But as long as neither one breaks, I stand by what I say, that that's more or less bullish for Bitcoin, assuming that we don't confirm a local top on like a daily perhaps. If Bitcoin does break 92.50 to the downside, I would look for a move to about 8900-ish region. Probably look for a higher low to be put in there on a higher time frame. By the same token, any sort of a 4-hour delta close close above 95.50. However, 9600 would look better, or even just a move above our current high at about 95.70. So that's actually obviously below 9600. So any sort of move above 95.79, we're very, very likely a continuation. Short-term target would be 98.50. Probably do see a low time frame pullback from there. And then I'd look for Bitcoin to make a legitimate run at the 5 digits. Anywhere between 10.1 and 10.3 looks good to me. I know it sounds a little bit crazy here, but things look good. Things look good. Yeah, I don't really have too much to add on to it other than that. I'd say the only way that I get like really bearish is if Bitcoin like closes the daily below the 200 simple again. But for right now, with the golden cross on the way, I don't think that that's what's happening. I think that Bitcoin is stair-stepping its way up, and usually when these guys do officially cross, you want to see, you want to see a test down to like the next major moving average. That's what we got yesterday, I believe. That's why I really wanted this fucking area, because I considered that a test of the 200 simple. I'm sure if we put on like a 9 EMA, it's probably gonna show a test on that. And this is like a really aggressive way of doing things. And holy shit, of course. I should have had that on my charts as well. That's a really, really aggressive way of doing things. When things are trending hard, that's what it should look like. As a golden cross is in the process of occurring. I mean, that's fucking classic right there. Absolutely classic. And shame on me for not recognizing that in the moment. Anyways, as far as that's concerned, I mean, this is typically the kind of setup that you see that's going to push through. So yeah, I'll leave it there, man. I'll leave it there. Like I said, I don't know if I'll be on later tonight on Twitch. I will if I can, if this appointment goes by fast. Hopefully it does, because fucking annoying. Fucking boring is what it is. Rather be playing video games and trading a little bit of cones over here. But hey, on top of that, I would like to wish you well on this nice little Friday. It ain't raining here, so I hope it's nice and sunny, or whatever the fuck kind of weather you want in your part of the world. As always, wish you well. Take care, and until next time.